What's it like scuba diving in the cenotes of Tulum? Coming up. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Christine with Where in the World is CL, and I make travel videos every week to help you get up, get out, and go travel. So if you like to travel, consider subscribing. Scuba diving in the cenotes in Tulum is unlike any other dive experience I've ever had. I have my advanced diving certification. I'm getting close to over 100 dives around the world, but doing a cenote dive is totally different. And in this week's video, I wanted to share with you what my experience is like so that you can plan the best trip for yourself and decide if it's something for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you where I dove and what my experiences were like, as well as how I chose my dive operator with tips on how you can choose yours. And lastly, would I even recommend it? Because by the way, I'm in Playa del Carmen right now and I've been diving here too. Let's start with where I went diving because I did 3 different dives at 2 different cenotes. The first one was El Pit, and this was inspired by the amazing photos that were shared with me, and you have phenomenal light coming in to this really deep dive. You do need your advanced certification for this one because you are diving down to over 100 feet. The highlights of this dive is that it really is beautiful. It's a really perfect cenote for scuba diving because you have the light coming in and it just creates this really beautiful effect while you're down in the water. The other amazing thing about this dive is the halo climb. In other words, the part of the dive where the salt water meets the fresh water, and when you put your hands out in front of you, it's almost like it's wavy and this dark blue, and it's just a crazy, crazy effect, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The other highlight is it's really neat looking down there. And there's a surprise in El Pit in which you will see some really old pottery that's down there. The downsides of this dive, as you're dropping down into the very low depths, there are parts of the dive in which you will literally see nothing. In other words, imagine diving down into the darkness, and even though you have a flashlight on you, it's completely black in front of you, and when you wave your hand in front of your face, it's still black. And there's just a few moments as you're dropping down as a group that you just completely lose track of time, space, and are completely discombobulated. And so I will be totally honest in that there was someone on the dive who freaked out and swam straight up, which is one of the most dangerous things that you can do while diving, especially into deep depths. And so being aware that this is the type of dive and this is the type of environment you're getting into is something that you just need to know. But once you get down there, it is really unique and it is really beautiful, and it honestly also looks like zombies will come out and get you. It's just kind of creepy and eerie down there, but it's really freaking cool at the same time. By the way, if you're getting some value out of this video, cheers that like button and consider subscribing. All right, let's get back to it. Oh, one other thing I should mention is that there is a very steep set of stairs that you need to lug all of your scuba equipment down and then back up at the end of the dive. Again, but it's worth it. I really loved El Pit. Let's jump to the next dive, which is Dos Ojos.
This is dive number 2 at Dos Ojos.
There are 2 dives here, and it's located right next to El Pit. And these are shallower dives, so you're down there a lot longer. At El Pit, I was probably down there for about 35 minutes, but for these 2 dives, you're down there for almost an hour. And in all of them, I was really cold. So I was really thankful that one of the other divers lent me their hoodie, because even though I was wearing a 5mm suit, I was cold. But then again, I get cold really easily. Let's talk about the highlights of Dos Ojos. It really is a beautiful dive, and it's different from El Pit in that this one is all about stalagmites and stalactites. And so as you're diving through and there's a line that you're following, you will see these amazing formations all around. So it's really cool to see the bubbles of your air from your tank gathering on the ceiling, as well as just seeing the light reflecting from your flashlight off of those bubbles and off of the stalagmites and stalactites. The downside of this dive is that it can feel extremely claustrophobic. You don't need an advanced certification for this dive, so if you are an open water diver who's newer, just know that you will likely feel pretty claustrophobic. You never go through a space that's super tight, but you will feel like the world is closing in around you. So if that makes you feel feel uncomfortable, just know that's coming your way. Let's jump to how I chose a dive operator because I have some tips in here that are really important for you. For me, I went around on my little bicycle checking around with different operators all along Tulum Centro. And what I was looking for was a dive company that spoke really good English. Even though I speak un poquito de español, I wanted someone who could give me a really good brief in English. The second thing is I wanted to dive with a company who was insanely safe, who, I'm not gonna lie, some of the briefs were really long. It was like a 35-minute brief to get into El Pit, but I'm glad it was because I was so informed and I knew exactly what to expect, and that's what I wanted. Because lastly, these are the types of dives where you don't want to be in a troubled situation and you definitely want someone who knows what they're doing. So I dove with Infinity 2 divers. This video is in no way sponsored by them. I loved them. Mario was a phenomenal dive master and I definitely recommend them, and link in the description below for more info on them. So my tip for you here is to make sure you're finding a dive operator that you feel super comfortable with and maybe take safety to the next level, because this isn't some super shallow 30-foot reef dive in which you're just below a boat. Let's talk about my recommendation. If you've never done cenote diving or anything like it, it is a must-do activity. Out of all the dives I've done, El Pit is definitely at the top of my list of most interesting dives I've ever done. On the other hand, and this is just my honest opinion, it's one of those things where once you've seen it, you don't really need to see it again. And so after doing the 2 Dos Ojos dives, the Barbie line and the Bat Cave, they looked very similar to each other, and in general, not seeing a lot of fish, seeing cool lights, and seeing stalagmites and stalactites, that one day of 3 dives was enough for me. And that's why I'm in Playa del Carmen right now, trying to dive here as well as Cozumel. The weather hasn't been good and the ferries haven't been running, but I caught some really awesome reef and bull shark diving, so stay tuned for those videos. If you enjoyed this, cheers that like button. If you haven't already, I'm here every week with new videos. Drop me a comment to let me know where your favorite dive is in the world. Mine is Thailand. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Recap, we're gonna put on our dive equipment and then we're gonna swing from this rope down into this cenote.
Actually over there, then to the cenote.
Oh, okay. We gotta go to the other side.